Warning. The Maverick Marketer is not for the soft, timid, or faint-hearted. If you need permission or seek approval from your mother, spouse, mates in the pub, or anyone else for that matter, this really isn't for you. If any of what you've heard puts you off in the slightest, I advise you not to listen any further. You've been warned. Prepare yourself for the no bullshit, zero fluff. Quick, dirty, and uncensored secrets for any serious coach, trainer, consultant, or speaker who wants to earn more money with less work and fewer headaches. Without having to kiss ass or bend over backwards to please anyone. He's a relentless and fearless renegade who will stop at nothing to reveal the harsh, unforgiving, and brutal truth about what it really takes to succeed in this business. He's a guy people love to hate and hate to love. It's your host, Drew Edwards. The Maverick Marketer is unleashed.
Hello. This is Terry Edwards, Renegade Recruiter, and welcome to another episode of Renegade Recruiter Unleashed. And in this week's podcast, my special guest is Plamen Ivanoff. Now, those that have been in the industry for some time will know who Plamen is, and if you don't know who he is, bear with us because all revealed. Plamen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a real pleasure. I've been looking forward to this. Look, you're quite well known in the industry, but for those that don't know, just tell us a bit about who you are and what you do, please, Plamen.
Where shall I start? Well, I'm Bulgarian. I'm 57 years young. I've been in the UK for 31 years. As it happens on the 29th of November, so we're coming closer to my anniversary. Mm-hmm. I'm married with 4 kids, most of them grown up. And I've had 3 businesses in the UK. The first one I started in 1990. I sold it in 2000.
What business was that, Plamen?
Our financial services business. It was a franchise business. Mm-hmm. Most of the people probably might have heard of Zurich Financial Services.
Yeah. I
ran a franchise with Zurich Financial Services for 10 years, and I sold it successfully in 2001. Mm-hmm. After this business, I went into property development because it was a natural progression of what I did in the past. And I exited this business in 2007-8. Thankfully, just before the major changes happened in the property market. Mm-hmm. And in 2007, I was approached by my son-in-law to be at the time, a gentleman called Paul Hickey. And Paul said, could you help us set up a recruitment business? With him and 2 of his colleagues, we started GrassGreener Group, which is very successfully, continuously trading and doing well at this moment in time.
So the name of the business is GrassGreener, Plamen. What type of recruitment do they do?
Well, typically, I would say a generic recruitment that has a horizontal specialism, if you wish. The specialism focuses on, someone interrupted me here, come into the room, but that's okay.
That's okay. I get that all the time. And
there you go.
You say to them, don't interrupt me, don't you? But they still do.
Anyway, the GrassGreener has a horizontal specialism. We specialize in technical sales and senior management placement. But if you look at vertical markets, we've sort of evolved in developing 4 vertical specialisms. And these are chemicals, tech, industry, and another one. I'm sorry, you have to forgive me, but I'm not very specific here. The reason being is that for quite some time now, since 2014 onwards, I've not been operationally involved with GrassGreener. My dear colleague and son-in-law used to be, at the time, Paul Hickey, is the current MD that takes full responsibility for the success of this business.
So I'm going to ask you, Plamen, you say is he your son-in-law?
No, actually, interesting story there. Paul was my son-in-law to be. They've met with my daughter at a very early age, my oldest daughter, and I've known Paul since he was a kid. They've lived in my house for 2 years. Then sort of life evolved for them. They enjoyed life too much and they decided not to actually sort of evolve further to the point of where Natalie, my daughter, went to the US for a very nice job, and Paul stayed behind. So in a way, I've sort of inherited him now.
Hang on a minute. So your daughter left. You lost the daughter who went to the US, but you kept a son-in-law.
Absolutely, yes.
That sounds fair enough. So you say you're not so actively involved in your recruitment business now.
Well, I say that, but I still keep a very close eye, and we obviously share the ownership of the business. And as a matter of fact, I'm going on Wednesday to see some clients that the business sort of considers, that one of our consultants considers that I'll probably be the right person to go and meet with these clients to. So in a way, we still do deals, and I still get involved, but I don't really get involved that much in the operational part of the business.
So what do you get heavily involved in? What business do you get heavily involved in, Plamen?
Well, at this moment in time, my entire focus is on a platform which we've created some time ago. It's basically a service that we've evolved. We created as part of the GrassGreener solution in 2010. I suppose that'd probably be relevant for me to mention it. In 2010, GrassGreener was a typical contingent recruiter. We've had about 14 people working in our business, with as many as 10 recruiters at one stage. And the business was typically offering contingency-based generic services, which continued to be probably most of the service offered at this moment in time within the recruitment industry. So we, like most of the agencies, were offering candidate-led engagement with our client, if you wish, to the point of where our fees, especially at the time, were struggling. We saw the decrease in fees, or more work for the same fees to stand still. The profit margins for business owners that will probably appreciate that have decreased at the time, and I came in 2009-10, spent about 2-3 months studying the recruitment industry, if you wish, and having seen the business from a business point of view as opposed to from a recruitment point of view, I felt that this business is probably not going in the right direction.
So sorry to interrupt you, Ivanoff, but what's some of the frustrations or negative impacts that had on you and the business when you talked there about declining fees?
Okay, well, the declining fees were a result of the fact that we didn't offer sufficient value for money to our clients. And typically, if you actually take a process from a contingency recruitment point of view, a recruiter will typically engage with the client, find a role, if they're lucky, and when they actually identify there is an opportunity there, they'll rush to identify potential suitable candidates, and the time is of essence. They'll then deliver these CVs to the clients. The clients will then, as soon as they hand over the CVs, then the decision, they lose control completely over the decision that the client might take. The client will typically look at 4 or 5 other agencies to do exactly the same thing, and essentially we're hoping that they'll choose our candidate. This is like shooting in the air and hoping that the ducks will fly into it. So in essence, if you quantify this one, and I'm sure that most people will relate to that, 80% of the work that we did was unpaid.
When you put it like that, Plamen, that's unbelievable. And I know that figure to be true, because I think I read somewhere that 25 recruiters will only fill 20 to 25% of the job roles that they're working on.
Absolutely, yes.
So they it's unbelievable when you put it like that. So if it is, and let's exaggerate that number, and let's say that they're filling 30% of the job roles they're working on.
Yeah.
As you rightly said, 70% of the time they're working, they're never, ever going to get paid.
That's correct.
That's crazy, isn't it? Just share with us some of what impact that had on you when you guys were doing that. And for most of the time you were working, you weren't getting paid.
Well, think of it. Most recruiters that we've recruited are getting frustrated because it's like a roller coaster ride. You see that you're working on a fee that might be 10, 20, 30,000 pounds. You've got the right candidate for the role. And for some unknown reason outside your control, the client changes their mind, either stop the recruitment process or they choose someone else in preference or recruit internally. So this actually caused emotional distress, in my opinion, to all the people that were working in our business, including us. I mean, it's very difficult from a business point of view to run such an unpredictable revenue stream and maintain commitment to having to pay wages to 10, 15 people. And so it causes a lot of anxiety and stress as business owners, but also I could see the recruiters. The recruiters didn't like their job. They simply didn't like it. They had to make 40, 50 phone calls. They had to send emails to people. They had to do all sorts of things that they genuinely disliked. And obviously there are some people that will be good at it, but most people really don't like this sort of exposure because it simply makes people uncomfortable. This is not in the nature of people to do this sort of approach.
That's right. And I remember years ago when I used to do a lot of work with consultants, they used to say exactly that they hated their job, but also had this fear of being fired. Can you imagine the conflict of interest going on there? You hate the job, but you've got this fear about being fired from the job as well.
I mean, the pressure is immense. And ultimately, the good news is that I wasn't in recruitment, and when I came to this business, I looked at the business and said, this actually doesn't make sense. I mean, in addition to the fact that we had sort of a conflict or an internal issue and the lack of sort of predictable cash flow, etc., think of the impact this has on clients and candidates. Now, if you are under pressure, you're unlikely to perform to your best. Never mind that, but you start to cut corners, and I must admit that that's a natural progression. It's nobody's fault. It's a natural progression of what happens. The quality of the service that you deliver to your clients is poor or substandard, and eventually it comes to a point where the clients actually start to dislike what you do, and that causes even extra pressure. Now, the candidates at the same time are being commoditized because they're treated like units, and that actually does not improve the relationship between candidates and recruiters. Well, the whole situation is what I'd call an experience in frustration. And the whole industry has got a major flaw, or the contingency method of providing recruitment services within the industry represents a major flaw, which we all know that if a business is flawed, a business model is flawed, it eventually dies. Now, what we did in 2010 is, having spent 2-3 months evaluating the market and evaluating the industry, I came up with, I mean, have you watched the movie called Jerry Maguire?
I have indeed, Show me the money.
Well, not that exact point, but if you remember, Jerry Maguire wakes up one morning at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, he's got fever, and he decides to sit down and writes a memo, a mission statement, and he delivers it next day to all his colleagues.
That's right,
And by lunchtime, he got sacked. So I had almost the same experience. One morning, I woke up, I couldn't sleep, and I wrote a mission statement for the business. And I delivered it next day by 12 o'clock. And thankfully, I almost received the same reaction, by the way, from my colleagues. Thankfully, they didn't sack me. But ultimately, everybody says, well, who are you to teach us how to do recruitment? Now, in this mission statement, in this memo, I had amongst other things, I had two major points. And I set a very clear vision. By the end of 2010, we are going to be 50% retained. And the other statement...
Sorry, just let me interrupt you there. For those that don't know, there may be a few people listening who don't know, when you say retain, what do you mean by that?
Okay, well, there are two typical ways of engaging with a client. Is when you work on contingent, i.e. Results only, you get paid on the result, either whether you place a candidate or not. And a retained recruitment is when the client identifies you as the person to deliver the recruitment service for them on that particular assignment, and then they pay you 1/3 of the fee up front, 1/3 in the middle in general terms, and 1/3 at the end. In other words, you've got a contractual engagement with the client where the client gives you commitment with not only time but money as well, to say that they choose you to deliver the recruitment service.
That's right. Now, I just want to recap on this, because if you can't get your head around it, just think about this for a minute. Let's say you're a recruiter and every month you get 10 job orders. And if you're the typical recruiter, you're going to fill 2 of those job orders, but you're going to work on 10 of them.
Yes.
A retained recruiter will work less because they will only work on 2 or 3 retained jobs.
Yes.
But will earn more than the contingency recruiter. Just get your head around that. And the moment you can get your head around that, there are some retained recruiters who will give the names of their competitors and say, go and waste their time on contingency, but we only work on retained. Now this, what you're talking about here, Plamen, is a real game changer when recruiters can get their head around this concept. You will work less and earn more when you're working on retained. Thanks for sharing that with us, Plamen.
It's interesting that you use the word game changer, and I'll give you a reference of this. GrassGreener were the front page of Recruiter magazine under the title Game Changers for 2013. And that, by the way, can be found online if anybody wants to take reference of this one. The article is on page 26 to 29, and it's Recruiter magazine, December issue 2013.
Yeah.
Just going back to what I was saying, ultimately we set up a new premise for the service. And back to my story, the Jerry Maguire story, I basically said £10,000 minimum fee by the end of the year, not minimum fee, average fee, and 50% retained. Now, when I went to my colleagues and I came up with this sort of statement, they looked at me in bemusement and they said, within reason, are you mad?
Yeah.
Because we've never done retain, or if we've done retain, it was sort of a notional retain with people that we knew, etc. This required a major direction shift. And the interesting thing is that nobody believed. But me not knowing enough about recruitment actually helped, because I said, well, actually, this is the target. Let's see what we need to do to get there.
Yeah, well, a great attitude.
We started to ask the right questions. And when you start to ask the right questions, guess what? Things started to happen. Now, we came to the end of 2010, and in all honesty, we didn't hit the numbers, but we hit a considerable amount of retain, well below 50%. I don't know exactly what the number was, but we started to actually get evidence that actually retained recruitment works, provided that you pitch it. And the second thing that happened is our fees increased quite substantially. So here is the interesting thing. Fast forward things a little bit. By the end of 2012, that's 18 months from the time when we started this process, we became a 100% retained assignments recruiter.
Wow.
And our fees moved by, to be exact, almost double, 87% higher than what they were in 2010.
That is amazing.
And just to fast forward it further, our fees have since increased, and at the end of 2015, our average fee was £18,000 in still very generic markets where people recruit. The fee level has increased to sub 25%. That was at the end of 2015. Now in 2016, we've put additional processes and structure how to increase our commercial value to our clients and ultimately benefit from it. Our fees have now gone above £20,000 average fee and over 25%. So the whole process has put us in the top, I dare say, 3% of the recruitment industry fees. Mm-hmm. And it is based on the REC Trends Survey published in 2014. Mm-hmm. 2014-15 published last year, October 2015. I can't wait to see the new trends, and I can work out the numbers at the end of this year.
And what do you put that success down to? What did you do differently?
Well, we've changed our methodology, and if I can actually quantify it in one word, this is the process that we put in place, and that's I-intro.
I-intro,
yeah. Mm-hmm. What we've done is, I-intro was firstly a business solution, a business offering, which we started to implement in 2010. We've worked it as a proprietary solution, so we kept it just entirely for us between 2010 and 2013. And the elements that the success that I've actually shared with you is actually a reflection of the fact that we've changed our methodology altogether. We've taken a behavioral shift to move away from contingency recruitment to retained recruitment. And not only did we believe to start with, but we've actually done it. Mm-hmm. By the end of 2012, we became 100% retained recruiter, still working in very generic market. I suggest that anybody that wants to actually take some evidence of that, they just need to go on our website, which is GrassGreener.co.uk, and they can look at the jobs that we work. Now, we work on some big jobs, but we also fill jobs that are as little as, say, 30,000, 40,000 pounds in salaries. All these roles that you see there are retained recruitment work. We don't do any contingent.
You're listening to Maverick Marketer Unleashed Podcast. For show notes, additional resources, and podcast updates, head over to www.maverickmarketerunleashed.com.
And this I-intro, I know that lots of other former contingency recruiters now use it and have had very similar results. Can you just tell us about some of the benefits that a user of I-intro would get from using it, please, Plamen?
Well, if you remember, there are three components in recruitment. The first one is the recruiters, so there is a recruiter's benefit. Also, there is benefit for their clients. And after all, if we provide value-add proposition to our clients, then ultimately we underpin our success, if you wish. And also, there is the third element, which is candidates. How does I-intro benefit all these three components, if you think of it, of the recruitment industry? What happened to recruiters that use I-intro is they ultimately increase their engagement on a retained basis, increase their fees, and ultimately for business owners, this actually resulted in better cash flow, because if you have a predictable outcome of your assignments that you work in, and you know exactly how you've planned it, ultimately you know when the money is coming in. Recruiters overall increase the average placement fees, but not only that, the efficiency of their work is dramatically increased over time. Because if you recall a moment ago, we said that typically recruiters work on 80% of their time being wasted and not getting paid. Retained recruiters, unlike contingency recruiters, get paid 100% for the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't have to do as many as 10 roles, but typically our consultants work on between 3 to 5 roles per month on an ongoing basis. We also have a specific structure in terms of how to support them. But bottom line is that it improves productivity, it increases the fee levels, adding percentage terms, etc. But it also improves your relationship with your client. Once you've done something that's of high value to your client, the clients are unlikely to move away from yourself and go back to the unpredictable, unreliable, and inconsistent contingency methods.
Yeah.
This is just for recruiters. Now, if you actually take it from a client's point of view, clients benefit enormously from the product for 3 main reasons. Firstly, we reduce the commercial downtime for the client, and I'll explain this one in a second. The second thing is we increase retention, and retention, in my opinion, is the only true measure of success in recruitment. And the third and the ultimate objective here is that in time, using our process, our clients or the employers benefit from a reduction of their overall cost to hire. Let me expand on these three so you understand ultimately what this means for the client and why it is better than contingent recruitment. Now, typically in a recruitment process, the clients will receive a number of CVs from various agencies they've engaged with, and then they'll have to, as soon as they've received the CVs, then it's their responsibility to evaluate these CVs, to assess them as part of the process, interview people, go through further stages, and then ultimately identify a suitor and appoint them. Now, what we do with our process is we take away the work from the client, and based on some initial pre-framing of what good looks like, set on parameters which we help clients to use as part of the process, we then do the work instead of the client. We only deliver to clients, and it might sound cliche, but that is a fact. We only deliver to clients the very relevant candidates that can do the job. And this is extremely important. So the clients don't get CVs that may not be relevant. They don't have to waste any time in interviewing people that may not be relevant. They don't have to fly them, carry out expenses, especially for senior international jobs where the stakeholders, the decision makers are positioned in different parts of the world or even in the country nationally. So it saves considerable time and effort up front. We do the work instead of the client. That's how we save commercial downtime.
Yeah.
The second thing is, how do we increase retention? As part of our process, well, let me give you once again an analogy. A client will typically assess a potentially suitable candidate on the basis of their CV and possibly extend it by way of some interviews. Now, these interviews, in many instances, we know, are not perfect because there is limited time to do the evaluation, and some candidates are pretty good at acting on performing well on interviews. Some candidates are not. And that doesn't mean that the candidate didn't perform on the interview is not the right candidate, or vice versa. It doesn't mean that the candidate that performed well on the interview is the right candidate. It requires further assessment and evaluation. So what we do is we bring science in the process. We use psychometric evaluation or behavioral assessment of the role, i.e. what good looks like from a client's point of view to start with, and then we compare this one with candidates. This is done up front and before they've even met any of the candidates. In addition to that, we test competencies. And competencies, like, once again, to give you an analogy, if you ask a client to give you a list of all the competencies required in the job, you'll get a very long list, and some things will be very generic, i.e. self-starter, hardworking, honest, sincere, etc., etc., etc. What we do is we help the client identify key skill sets and competencies that are required for the job specifically. And the way we do it is by forced choicing, basically forcing them to choose, perhaps forcing is the wrong word, but helping the client to identify one of the key competencies at a time, and we limit them between 3 to 5. It's still the 80-20 principle, if you think of it. 20% of the competencies will determine 80% of the performance on the job.
Yeah.
We help the client to identify this one in our own process. So we test key competency, we test behavior, and to make it even more interesting for the client, we deliver it online through a cloud-based enabling platform that includes other elements such as access 24/7, anytime, anywhere, on any internet-based device, as well as we include a video, which is obviously another way to pre-screen candidates, etc., etc. But that's another story.
And this is all within this is all within iIntro. This product. But my understanding is, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, Plamen, a lot of former contingency recruiters are now using this software. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, just to clarify the matter, in 2013, we've had tremendous success up to date within our own little business, and I felt that iIntro has a better commercial proposition which we should make available to other recruiters. We've taken our intro then public through a white label solution. In other words, we provide the tool online through a completely reskinned front end and back end, so the clients can use the platform with their own brand. Or shall I say clients? When I say clients, I mean recruiters.
Yeah.
This solution is then used by recruiters. We've got currently some 80 plus firms, predominantly in the UK, but also we've got clients for as far as Singapore, Thailand, Hong Kong, New Zealand, and Australia, as well as the US. So the platform is used internationally. We've got a number of clients in Europe. So altogether, the platform is now used by numerous recruitment firms, and the cross-section of these recruitment firms is also important to mention. We've got sole traders, people that have started in recruitment yesterday, if you wish, and using our platform to create the process and structure to successfully engage clients and candidates with. As well as we've got some big firms with some 300 million turnover, also using the process for slightly different purposes, but essentially the platform lends itself to be used for various different options within recruitment. But essentially, it does the same thing. The method is the key. It helps people deliver better value solution to their clients, which typically is not available, or people hardly do, in the normal way of engagement.
Yeah, and I have to say, Plamen, I think you've been very modest here, because I have seen the product, and I know of a number of former contingency recruiters who are now using this, and it's really transformed the business. And when I say modest, what I mean by that is that for most owners and directors of recruitment businesses, there's a certain irony in as much that if you ask them what their number one challenge is, and they say it's finding good consultants to come and join them, which is kind of ironic when you think that this is a recruiter that can't recruit for themselves. And one of the big benefits feedback I've got from some of your clients with iIntro, that it helps with that process, in as much that it helps businesses now have a systemized process. So this fantasy, for want of a better word, of recruitment business owners having to recruit experienced consultants to come and join them, iIntro helps eliminate that, and what it means is they can now look for individuals with the right intellect, which you can measure, and the right intelligence, things that you can measure, and you can simply say to consultants, come and join us and follow this process that's all online, on cloud and whatever, and you kind of know that they're going to get pretty much the same results. And I know from the guys that I've spoken to that they've found that a massive benefit. So I'm going to ask you a question though on all this. There are recruitment and search firm owners listening to this right now, Plamen, and they're thinking, wow, this is almost too good to be true. What would you say to that?
Well, that's what my colleagues said 5 years ago. They didn't believe it, and it actually, I fully understand that. It's a difficult step forward mentally, but once you've committed to it, once you've started the process, the advantage is, just to backtrack a little bit, the advantage is that we had to invent the process at the time. Now, what we have is everybody that's taken our intro has got the benefit of our 5 years experience and further fine-tuning and improvements that we've added numerous times over and over from other users and from our own selves. So the process currently it's not just a software. As a matter of fact, the software is an enabler. The methodology and the process that we teach recruiters how to become retained search consultants is the key. The tool ultimately helps them do it, but essentially is what we do is we teach people how to become a retained search consultant, or retained recruitment consultant, to be precise. It doesn't have to be search. As I said to you, we've got clients that are using the same process and the same methodology to win retained assignments that before they'd never dream of taking on retained. But the clients see the difference, and because it's such an overwhelming difference, the experience is clearly evidenced then. So people take on, even for smaller roles, retained assignments.
Yeah. And I know you feel passionate about this, and that probably comes across really strongly in this interview. And you were sharing with me offline that you've now written an ebook on this subject. Can you just tell us a bit about the ebook, what the ebook's called, please, Plamen, and where we can get hold of it? More importantly,
the interesting thing is that I've published a number of quite controversial articles on my LinkedIn profile. People can find me easily, by the way. There is not that many Plamen Ivanoffs, but if you look me up on LinkedIn, you'll see that numerous articles have been published about challenging the status quo in the industry. This new book is, if you just give me a second, please. Unfortunately, well, the title is, the working title at this moment in time is Death of Contingency Recruitment. I'll publish this one probably within the next week or so it's almost there. The book is basically a cover story of our process and what we've done, and it highlights every element, but most importantly, it focuses on the pain that we all experience at some stage in our recruitment process. And different people have different sort of challenges in recruitment. Some people can't find a sufficient USP. Some people can't engage with clients or candidates well enough. Some people are working on contingent that basically gives them the uncertainty of cash flow. All these things are addressed in the book. It is a bit of a controversial title, but I truly believe that if you think of broken models, financial models or business models in the world, Kodak was a top name a few years ago, and it filed for bankruptcy some time ago.
Yeah, good point.
Blockbuster also was a multi-billion dollars company, and it went bust. There is other examples of similar situations. So it's inevitable when a business model is creating frustration, it's natural progression for people to search a way out or a solution that replaces that model. I truly believe that what we've seen in 1986, the birth of contingency recruitment, is likely to finish very soon.
Yeah, and you're not the first person to say that. I was reading one of Greg Savage's blogs quite recently, saying very much the same thing. And this ridiculous situation where contingent recruiters are competing with 6, 10 other recruiters, and you can see the same job on several job boards with different companies. And again, one of the legends of the industry, Greg Savage, saying this cannot go on. Now, Plamen, I've known you for a while now, and I know you're a very generous individual. My understanding from your colleague is that you're going to give some of these books away. Is that correct? Have I just dropped you in it there?
No, you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, the objective here is not really to make money. I just want to share what I truly believe is right for the industry. I believe we've come up with a solution that makes a difference. It genuinely makes the biggest change that is coming for us. I'll be more than happy to actually offer this book for free, really, to people.
Great.
The book is going, by the way, on Amazon on sale.
Fantastic. So where can people go to get the book before you start selling it, Plamen? Because that's what we all want to know.
Well, the person that interrupted me here a moment ago gave me a link which we've put together for the book.
Yeah.
Please forgive me if the link is a bit too long, but I'll repeat it a couple of times to make sure that people can reach out and find it. It can be found on www.demo.i-intro.net/death of contingency recruitment. Once again, www.demo.i-intro.net/death of contingency recruitment.
Fantastic. I'll get you to repeat that, but before I get to repeat that, Plamen, can you just spell your name for us so people can reach out to you on LinkedIn as well? So can you spell your first name, please, Plamen?
Sure. It's spelled Plamen, or in the terms of aviation, it's Papa Lima Alpha Michael Echo November. And the surname?
Yeah. Sorry.
Ivanoff for Freddy.
Could you repeat that, please, Plamen, surname?
Ivanoff for Freddy.
Fantastic. And you're happy for people to reach out to you on LinkedIn, yeah?
I'm the one and only Bulgarian recruiter with this name.
I like that. The Bulgarian recruiter. I love that. So just to repeat, to get hold, when you get hold of this free book, here's some things that you're going to discover. The book's called The Death of Contingency Recruitment. You're going to discover, and again, you were very modest about this, Plamen, about USPs. And for those that don't know, USPs are unique selling proposition or unique selling point. Most recruiters, 80%, 90%, do not have a USP. They will say things like we care, or we've got a large database, or, and that kind of thing, which they're not USPs. With this book, you're going to discover how to create a powerful USP. You're going to discover how to work less and earn more. You're going to get access to exactly how you can improve your cash flow and how to engage with more clients and put more money in your bank account. As Plamen said, this book is absolutely free, though he will be sending it later on Amazon. To get the book, it's 3 W's, demo, intro, which is INTRO. Is that .net?
Yes, it's demo.i-intro.net.
/ Death of Contingency Recruitment.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no .co or anything at the end of that, no?
No.
Fantastic. And I know, again, you're only going to offer this to a select few. And once the free books are gone, guys, that's it. So don't hang around. Go there now and get your free copy, because it is only going to be free for a limited period. And then you will be able to buy it on Amazon after that. Plamen, that was fantastic. I really appreciate you sharing with us all about your business, GrassGreener, and also about iIntro as well. Thank you so much indeed.
Terry, I appreciate it.
Not at all. This is Terry Edwards, Renegade Recruiter. Take care, take action, and be relentless.
Show notes, additional resources, and podcast updates. Head over to www.maverickmarketerunleashed.com.